Well, it's a very good morning from him, and of course, it's a very good morning from me. Welcome to my mortgage live stream. Hope all is good with you and you're enjoying your August. August the 5th today, and before we know it, it's going to be the autumn, and then it's going to go November and the winter. We were actually talking about Christmas over the weekend. My daughter came down from Edinburgh, and we were talking about what we were all doing for Christmas. It just seems a long way away, doesn't it? But yeah, lots been going on last week, isn't it? Which you may be on your hollybobs, I don't know. But if you are, you would have obviously read about the interest rates. It tickled me. Interest rates, of course, went down by a quarter, and everybody started posting on LinkedIn announcing interest rates going down by a quarter. I thought, hold on a second. LinkedIn is B2B, you're talking to other businesses. Everyone was telling everybody that interest rates have gone down. Literally, it was every mortgage broker in the land started posting it. So I thought, well, that's just obviously what we do, isn't it? But yeah, interesting, obviously, times, of course. Talk about that in a second. Got a couple of good things for you today. Going to take a look at a little technique for you to help you when you're presenting to customers online on video. Got that later on for you, how you use your visual aids. And then I want to talk about some of the changes to the CeMAP syllabus. A lot of people have been asking me, what's been changing, Paul? New syllabus and all that lot. Not a lot is always my answer. Not a lot, but actually it's been hardly any changes. But of course, you don't know what's changed unless you know what's changed, do you? So I'm going to give you a bit of a highlight as to what's been going on. So I hope it's all good with yourself. I hope you're enjoying the summer. We're not having the best of weather, are we? A bit of a hot spell, then it gets cold again and it starts to rain, but that's always been the case. So I hope you're enjoying yourself and taking a few well-earned hours out of the business. So what's happened? Obviously, interest rates, can't say much more about that. But what I will give you a bit of an understanding of where things are going and what we might expect as mortgage advisors when we're talking to our customers who, of course, are pleased about interest rates. So let me show you a couple of pictures, a couple of graphs about interest rates, which you've seen before. They're not new. So let's just highlight some of these for you so you can see what's been going on. Now, this particular graph, which we've dug out from the BBC, as you can see, is quite a useful little graph. It goes back to the beginning of when it all started to go wrong. As you can see back there, we've got the inflation, which is that line there, starting at sort of 2% after the pandemic. And it started to surge, isn't it? We had the Ukraine war kicked off then. Gas prices accelerated out of all proportion and food, etc. And it got out of hand, didn't it? But the Bank of England started putting their interest rates up by a little quarter here, quarter there. And it's been lying at 5.25% now for about a year. Inflation, of course, has come down, measured by CPI. And it's around the 2% mark now. And interest rates, of course, came down by 0.25%. So that's coming down now nicely. So we can see what happens, of course, if you're studying your CeMAP. Obviously, inflation goes up. We put interest rates up. Interest rates go up, inflation comes down. That's not a bad little model, actually, of how it normally happens, although there's much more to it than that. So take a look at interest rates then in more detail, because we've got this graph here tells you what happened since 2005, because that's when the world was very normal. 2005, 2006, banking was fine, everybody was happy and joyful. We had interest rates around the 5% mark, 4.5%, 5%, for a long time, and that seemed like the normal rate. Of course, it went up just before the crash because we started to get a little bit overheated economy, so it started to put it up. Now, the economy overheated because it went bang, didn't it, in the crash, 2008. And of course, interest rates plummeted then to try and get the economy going, but the credit crunch caused its own problems, and we had monetarism wasn't working, so we had quantitative easing and all sorts of things to generate monetary policy, trying to put money into the economy. That's what we were doing. The QE, of course, carried on all throughout the years. Quantitative easing carried on even during the pandemic, and interest rates were like 1/4, I think they were, weren't they? Ridiculous figures. But now they've come back up to 5.25%, down to 5%, bank base rate, of course. There's talk of them trickling down to about the sort of 4% mark, Bank of England base rate. It's 5% now. They'll take it down probably in the autumn by another quarter. But next year, it'll trickle along the bank base rate. This is at around about the 4.5%, for a long old time. So don't expect for a moment that it's going to get back down to those silly rates, because that was a different economy. We needed to generate activity in the economy. The economy generates its own activity now. So mortgage rates, fixed rates around about the 3.5%, 4% mark is what you're going to get. So get your customers used to that. Some may not be used to that, particularly those who are remortgaging and refinancing. Get used to high rates really is the key, but they're not high. That's the point. We fixed ours in January this year with an NatWest, and we I think it's 4%. We got a pretty good deal, and that's about right. That's what you're going to be paying for forever. So that's a little bit for you on interest rates. Lovely cartoon to share with you as well, which illustrates what happened also with old Rachel, our new Chancellor of the Exchequer, whose performance rating's gone down. Apparently, the public don't like what she did, and it's been proven with some of the polling coming in. It goes back to Dave Cameron in 2010 when he took over. He started inching up taxes, and his biggest tax that he did, he took VAT from 15 to 20% immediately on taking power in 2010, which is a massive amount of money the government made from that, and nobody really kicked up a fuss. But what they did kick up a fuss is when he put VAT on takeaway hot food. And it was the Cornish pasty saga. I don't know if you remember it. Cornish pasties suddenly had VAT added to them. So if you heated up your Cornish pasty, you had to add 20%. And that caused him more grief than anything else. And Rachel, our esteemed Chancellor of the Exchequer, her getting rid of the winter fuel allowance, which only saved her about $1 billion, an awful lot of money really. Well, it's a lot of money, but not a great deal when you talk about government spending. But she's had a lot of flack from that. Everything else, everyone's gone with, Anyway, lovely cartoon. I think you'll enjoy this cartoon as well, which I picked up from the Telegraph. And it's got a picture, as you can see. I love this one. You got Keir Starmer there. Don't mind us. There's nothing to worry about. Tax plans. And you got this middle-aged, white, elderly boomer couple here who've got big TVs and lots of photographs, nice car out the front, obviously quite wealthy. And you've got our Chancellor of the Exchequer checking things to see what she can do to tax them, and HMRC in the back there with a torch. A brilliant cartoon, just a fabulous cartoon, because what it does, of course, is it illustrates exactly what's going to go on in the budget in October. They're going to tinker along with the boomers, see where they can do VAT, possibly might change that, but more than likely it's going to be inheritance tax, pensions tax relief, capital gains tax. That's really where they're going to hit to get some more money. But we'll see about that when that happens, shall we? I just love that cartoon, don't you? Anyway, let's move on. Take a look at my CeMAP session for you. So let's pop across to the whiteboard and do that, shall we? So, as you know, of course, every year the LIBF amend the syllabus pretty much every year anyway, with new laws, new rules, obviously tax changes with the new tax year as well. So they've done the same, and this August you'll be doing the new exam, and we've updated all our materials because we do. In fact, we update as we go along, really. We don't always wait until the big day. So what's changed, what's not changed? So here we are, CeMAP Changes, August 2024 for you. Well, first of all, you've got your new tax figures. So let's just put these bullet points up for you. You've got your new tax figures for the new year. Now, when I say the new tax figures, you're looking at tax year 24-25, which is now covered by the exam. So that, of course, started April this year anyway. Now, we did a video in June this year, actually, of the main tax rates and changes. But other than that, there's been very few tax changes. Get hold of a tax sheet, update yourself if you want to. There's been very few tax changes, and I'll share those with you as we go through. So let's break this down a bit more for you. National insurance. Let's put that up for you there. National insurance. Now, national insurance, or NI, of course, as it's known as, has had a little tinker with it. The government tinkered with this for the new tax year. And the Class 2 national insurance has now effectively been abolished. Now, Class 2 was the flat weekly figure, or paid quarterly actually, which the self-employed sole traders had to pay in order to keep their record for their pensions and stuff like that. They also pay under Class 4, which is a percentage, but that's staying. So the Class 2 is effectively gone now, or paid for by the government in order to give people their stamp. So that's just cleaned things up a little bit. So class 2 is now no longer there. So that's a little change for you that we've incorporated into our materials as well. Child benefit. Now, child benefit, again, whatever the Labour government decides to do with this, I don't know. It's up to them. But at the moment, the change here is that you can claim for child benefit and get your child benefit. But if anybody in the household now earns more than £60,000 as a salary or profits in a business, and there's any one person in the household, it's not two people joined together yet, then you gradually lose it and you have to pay it back. It's between 60 and 80, I think. You lose it completely. But anything over 60, you start to lose it and you have to pay some back. The best bet to do if you are earning that sort of money and you think you're going to have to pay it back is claim it, because the person claiming it gets a national insurance stamp. In other words, they get a 1 year's credit, if you like, for national insurance, or for however long they pay for, which allows them to get their state pension. So you should do that as well. But then tick the box not to receive the benefit. That's the key. You don't want to be paying it back a year later. That's a right old palaver, isn't it? So that's just a little change there for you. Capital gains tax, CGT, our friend. Capital gains tax has got a couple of changes. Again, Rachel might do something in October in the budget. Fair play to her. That won't affect your CeMAP unless it's a massive change, and they might bring in a change halfway through the year. But you see, you won't get tested on any changes probably until next year. But I'll update you in October when she does the budget. Now, CGT's had a couple of small changes. The first one is the annual exemption is now £3,000 as opposed to 6. So this is the annual exemption that you can offset against any gain for that year. That's been gradually coming down. And they also tinkered with the rate of CGT for people selling a second home. Now, if you're selling a second home, you've got to pay capital gains tax, of course, but they used to charge a bit extra. For high rate taxpayers, that's now 24% for high rate taxpayers. If you're selling a second property, so landlords beware. Basic rate taxpayers still have the same lower figure, of course, but they reduce that by 4%. I wouldn't worry about memorizing that. If I'm honest with you, that's not going to be a question, is it? What's the rate of CGT? Is it 10, 15? They'll give you the rate in the exam if they have a question around that one for you. That's pretty easy. Dividends. The dividend allowance, let's put that in there for you, dividends. As you know, some people are paid in dividends if they're a owner director of their own company. So she might be the owner director of her own company, she might be a consultant or something, and she applies her trade that way. But when it comes to getting a mortgage, she has a small salary and then dividends to help her to make ends meet. But of course, people who own shares and collectives also get paid dividends. And the dividend allowance, this is the amount of money that you can earn from dividends without being taxed, has been reduced to £500. That's come down quite considerably as well. So that's the, if you like, the amount each year you can earn in dividends and not have to pay tax. Yeah, fair enough. So it's not a lot. That'll be gone by next year. You wait and see. So that's divs. Squeeze in a few more changes for you. Let's pop across this side, shall we? ISAs. All our favourites, aren't they? ISAs, individual savings accounts. No major changes to ISAs in the budget or in the new tax year. They did tinker with the minimum age for a cash ISA, and that's now gone up to 18. So you've got to be 18 to get a cash ISA. You can have a junior ISA below that, of course you can, a GISA. That's just, and also you can have multiple ISAs from different companies in the same year now, as long as you don't exceed the 20 grand. So that came in as well. A couple of changes on the regulatory side. We had a new act called the Financial Services and Markets Act of 2023. Now, we did a video last week actually on this, which explains all the different acts since 1988, which you might find interesting. It's on the live stream from last weekend. But this is a new act, came in. All it's done really is consolidated a number of the equivalence rules with the EU. As you know, we're out of the EU now, but we've been putting all the EU laws into UK law. And the FS and Markets Act did exactly that. It's consolidated a few laws, made things tidied up for equivalence purposes. So not a huge amount of change, because most of the FS stuff is existing acts of parliament we've already got. So that's small things really. Stamp duty land tax. The rates haven't changed. They might do in the budget, we don't know, but the rates haven't changed. But they did get rid of multiple purchaser relief, or multiple purchaser. Again, we did a video on this one a couple of months ago, just to update you on that, multiple purchaser. What happened here, used to happen, is that if you were kind of like a developer or a landlord and you bought a series of properties all at the same time in one road, for example, you could average out the prices of the houses to determine your stamp duty. So, for example, if you bought 5 properties in a terrace, and collectively they came to £1 million, but individually they were different prices. Maybe the end terraces were more expensive. But what you did is you averaged out the million, and then you worked out the stamp duty on the fifth of that million, 200,000, and that would determine your stamp duty. And then you multiply it by 5. Anyway, it's gone now. So you don't need to worry about that one anymore. They got rid of that one. So these are tiny little changes, really, but it's good to know about them. On the subject of CeMAP 2, of course, we've got the new Leasehold Reform Act. Leasehold Reform Act. And this one's dated 2023. This is quite a big change, so you'll want to be taking a look at the video we did on this one. This is lots of lease changes. It's really cleaned up the leasehold. And I think it's Michael Gove brought that in during the Conservatives' time in power. And I think it's gone through. It might just need dotting a few I's, dashing a few T's to make sure it goes through. But that's now in the syllabus for you to update yourself on leasehold reform. So make sure you know about both leasehold reform acts. The one of 2002, I think it was, and the one of 2023/24. Sometimes it's quoted as 24. You need to know about that one. Pensions. Again, we're deep into the bowels of CeMAP 1 now. Pensions, not a huge number of changes. The big change, of course, is the lifetime allowance, which now has been gone. It's completely gone. And the Labour government said they were going to keep it gone, if that makes sense. So that's fine. But what it has affected is your lump sum, your pension commencement lump sum, which, as you know, is 25% of the pot. And for mortgage purposes, that's 25% of the pot to pay off an interest-only mortgage. Now, of course, that's now 25% of the old lifetime allowance, which is now frozen. So there is a 260 odd is the most you can have now, 260,000 of pension commencement lump sum. You've also got the maximum death benefit, which has come in now. This is going to change, so be careful of this one. Now, what happens here in a nutshell is that if you have a pension pot and you're saving into your pension and you're not taking it, or you might have taken the lump sum, or you might be on drawdown, doesn't matter. But you've got this pot still bubbling away in a tax-free environment. If you die before age 75, it all flies its way off to your next of kin. You put it into trust, it's done automatically. It goes off to somebody outside of your estate. How cool is that? So if you've got 500,000 in your pension pot, and you die, that goes straight to whoever you wish it to go to without even affecting your estate for inheritance tax purposes. So it's a real big benefit, that. Real big benefit. Now, there is a cap to that now, the amount of money, this death benefit cap, they call it. I think you've got a fancy acronym to it. But they've capped that according to the old lifetime allowance, which is fine. But, not everybody has over £1 million in a pension pot. Some people do. People who are wealthy and they've earned the money and they've paid into it will have that. And I think Rachel's going to tinker with that in October. I think she's going to remove the inheritance tax-free nature of it. So I think there'll be tax on people's death, which will change things, because a lot of IFAs will now look at the IHT situation, and they've ignored pension pots up until now. Now, if a pension pot becomes part of somebody's assets for inheritance tax purposes, it changed a few things. You might look at equity release now more than pension planning. So yeah, it'll be, every change always brings an opportunity for our marketplace. If you're a financial advisor, by the way, if you're a mortgage broker, tax changes tend to be bad news unless it's reducing stamp duty, which is usually quite rare. So lots of changes, I suppose, little baby ones, I guess. I wouldn't worry too much about them. We've done videos on all of these. Our revision guides have been updated, of course. Podcasts checked to make sure they're all okay. Tests have been looked at and updated as well. Boot camps are all up and running now. So all our material will show all these changes. And on YouTube, if you're watching this, you might find some videos on some of these changes that we've brought in. So I hope you found that all useful. Bye. Well done. Well done. Okay, yeah, just a few changes there for you. Just wanted to highlight those for you so that it all made sense to you, which is what it's all about, isn't it, at the end of the day? Okay, let's move then on to my last topic with you, which is if you're an advisor, a mortgage broker, financial advisor, and you're talking to customers on video, or you're presenting to teams of people on video doing presentations, this one's for you. This is what I call aiding your audience. This is about avoiding death by PowerPoint, which is the key. Now, AID, AID is a helpful acronym that teaches you how to show visuals to an online audience. It stands for A is alert, I is instruct, and D is display. So alert, instruct, display. So how does it work? The A stands for alert, and here you want to alert the audience or the customer of the slide that you're going to share with them. Now make sure that you've cleaned the slide on your other screen and then click the button and the slideshow brings up a clean image. Now when you alert them, you also want to instruct them. Now you instruct them on what you want them to do with that image. Do you want them to read it maybe? Do you want them to react to it in some way? Respond in some manner? So you might ask a question around the visual. So signpost them then to the visual by saying that you're going to enable the screen and then announce that you're going to display it. And that comes down to the last one, D. D stands for displaying it. Display the visual for as long as you need to display it. Now it's probably too complex and not a very good visual if it needs further explanation, because you've done all the explaining beforehand. Visuals, you see, should be seen and not read, bullet after bullet. Then you remove it and re-engage back to the audience, just like I'm doing with you here now, and ask for the feedback for whatever instructions you gave them to do. Never again, my friends, will you ever hear the ubiquitous murmuring, "You'll see my slides. Can you see all my slides?" There you go. Nice little update for you then on a little sales skill just to help you out in your business for you. So let's finish off then. Let's get into what's happening in August. Very excited to share with you actually something that's coming up in August, which I want you to have a look at, which I'm particularly looking forward to. There you go. I'm doing a free series podcast. I did a video the other day, or a podcast for let's just pop down here. Let's get out of the way. Yeah, I did a podcast for Ash Borland, nice guy actually, really smashing fella. He has a podcast called I think it's called Mortgage Maverick, and we got chatting. He just interviewed me like you do, and I've been in the business 40 years, and he made a bit of a play on that, which is nice actually, and it shows how much you actually do know. So what I'm going to do now for you is do a 4-series podcast entitled "How to Succeed as a Financial Advisor." And during August, you can see the dates there, 12th, 14th, 19th and 21st in the evening, 6 p.m. I'm doing a live podcast, which you can attend and ask questions. Each podcast covers different topic areas about how to become a successful financial advisor, and different types of financial advisor moving forward, more holistic now than just pure wealth managers. So how to be a successful financial advisor is coming up in August. Now, if you register with us, then you get to see the recordings and all that kind of lovely stuff as well. If you're not registered with us, so not on our database, then get on there. There's the QR code which you can click and go and enter your name into our member list, and we will send you the links via email. That's how you get onto it. So go on the link, register. If you don't get to watch it live, you can watch the recording. But if you come on live, then you can ask me questions about how to become a successful financial advisor. So we've got that coming up in August, which I'm jolly excited about and looking forward to. Other than that, I hope that you have a fantastic week. Enjoy yourselves, have fun in the sun, as they say. Don't overdo it, because you'll get busy again come Q4 next year. So see you next week. Bye.